Okay, so this is what we did the last day, where you use your slope formula to get the slope, okay? But there's also something else you can use. So if they give you a diagram, you can use rise over run. So will you write that down to me? You have this written somewhere. Write rise over run down somewhere else in your example copy, okay? So if you can do it like this, great. Okay, so sometimes if they give you a diagram like this or a graph like this, it's easier to do rise over run than it is to do slope formula. Okay? So I was just saying we have this part already written into our example copy, so it's just this bit we need. Okay, rise over run. And then will you all take down the picture for me? Okay, now both will work. This slope formula or rise over run, both will give you the exact same answer, okay? But it's just figuring out how to do both. So what I like to do is, I need to figure out how much did the line run and how much did the line rise. So you're joining 2 points on the line, any 2 points. Now I like to pick the points that go nicely, so like this one is 1, 1. And I'm going to join it to this one, okay? So you make a triangle. Now, my run goes from here, 1, to here, 4. So what's the run? Count over. 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay? And what's my rise? My rise goes from here, 1, up to here, 3. So what's the run? 2. So what's my slope? Rise over run, which is, say it again, 2 over 3. Excellent. Always do the rise over the run. No, because it doesn't start at 0. If my point was here, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. But because it starts here, just count like the units, count the boxes. 1, 2, 3. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay? So there's your rise over run. Does that make sense? If it's a diagram, if they give you a graph, sometimes it's way easier to just draw a little triangle and do rise over run. Okay? Now, okay, down here. We have 2 different lines, okay? This line has either a positive or a negative slope. Anyone want to guess? Positive. This one is negative. How did you know though? It's going up. If you read your book, you read the page from left to right. What's happening as you move from left to right? It's going up. So that's a positive slope. That means your answer is going to be a plus, like this, 2 over 3. What about this one? That's a negative slope. Positive slope, negative slope. Let me just get rid of a little bit there. Can I get rid of the rise over run part? So, something like this, a horizontal line, okay? Your slope is 0. And a vertical line, your slope is undefined. You can't get the slope of that, okay? Slope is undefined. So you might just want to learn a horizontal line always has a slope of 0, okay? And a vertical line, it's called undefined. That's more so in Leaving Cert, but just at least you've heard of it now, okay? Parallel lines. Parallel lines, something like that, aren't they? What do you know about parallel lines? They never meet. Okay. What else? What use do you compare them to in primary school? Train tracks. They never meet. They keep going in the same direction, don't they? The same distance apart. What would you think about their slopes? They're the same. Yeah. Parallel lines have equal slopes. Okay. Remember, the letter for slope is small m. So, for example, the first slope would be equal to the second slope. The symbol for parallel, girls, is just, do you see like the two train tracks? That's the symbol for parallel. Okay, small. I've just wiped it off my board. But do you see where I have the heading parallel lines? If you wanted in brackets, this is your heading. That's the symbol. Parallel. L is parallel. Let me just check. Oh yeah, they just kind of do it this way. Parallel to M. L would be the first line, is parallel to M, the second line. So if ever you see that symbol, it just means parallel. Okay? Then we'll move on to perpendicular. What do you know about perpendicular lines? A right angle, exactly. They meet at a right angle. There's your symbol. Your symbol looks like that. So L would be perpendicular to M. Okay, if this fellow was L and this fellow was M, L is perpendicular to M. There's a right angle in there. So just draw that picture for me. What do you think the slopes are going to be? The same as when they were parallel. So what do you think perpendicular? Yeah, like the opposite. Now, in an exam, can I write down they have opposite slopes? No, but absolutely that's how we think of it. Okay, we're going to remember that they have opposite slopes. Okay? So for example, if M1 is 3 over 4, then M2 will be 4 over 3. Very good. But one is positive and one is negative. So it will be minus 4 over 3. It's the reciprocal. Okay? The reciprocal is when you take the fraction and turn it upside down. And you have to have one a plus and one a minus. And what we learn is when I multiply my two slopes, I should get minus 1. You okay? So when I'm doing a minus with a fraction, I either do minus outside the whole fraction or I do minus with the top of the fraction. Okay? It's like bad maths if you do minus on the bottom. Like bad English. You know, technically it's correct, but it's just not what we normally do. Okay? So the minus always goes outside or in with the top. So if you wanted to check, are these two perpendicular, all I'd have to do is just multiply them. Throw that into my calculator, and we get minus 1. Okay? But you need to learn that. Multiply the two slopes, you get minus 1. Okay, will I do an example of how they ask this? Yeah? Okay. Okay, so A, B, C and D are 4 points in the plane. Show that this. Can someone read that for me? AB is perpendicular to CD. So if you need to write that in, write that in. AB is perpendicular to CD. And what does perpendicular mean for the slopes? They're opposite, but remember I can't write that on my page, so what do I do with the ends? M1 by M2 is -1. So basically, I need to get the first slope, I need to get the second slope, and if I multiply them, my answer should be -1. Okay, is that alright? So let's do that. So M1 is going to be the slope of AB. B. So write down, there's A and there's B. What's my next line? I don't have a picture, so I'm not going to use rise over run. There's no point. So what will I use instead of rise over run? The formula, exactly. Do you remember that slope formula? y2 minus y1 over, and as soon as you see slope, you can go here, slope, and there's your formula. Okay? Now I have this out. Why do I have this out? What do I have to do before I even do the formula? Lovely, label them. Remember your X and your Y. Do you remember that? So I need to label each point. Now is this the first point I see? All the ones. This is the second point I see. All the twos. So how do I label? X and Y. X and Y. All the ones. All the twos. Is that okay? You happy? And then I just fill it into my formula. So y2 is 2 minus from the formula y1 0 over x2 minus from the formula x1 minus 1. Good. That can go straight into the calculator if you'd like. Okay, so 2 take 0 is just 2. 3, what's minus by minus? Plus, so 3 plus 1 is 2 over 4 is a half. So my first slope is a half. Are you okay with that? Now what do I have to do? Get the slope of C and D, exactly. And to get the slope, exact same thing. Label. X1, Y1, X2, Y2. So this is M2. I'm not even going to bother writing down my formula again because it's right there. But we will fill in. So y2 minus 2 minus in the formula y1 4 over x2 2 minus from the formula x1 minus 1. Okay, minus 2, that can go straight into the calculator if you want, or minus 2 minus 4 is minus 6, minus by minus is a plus, 2 plus 1 is 3. What's minus 6 divided by 3? Minus 2. Now, straight away I can look at those two and I can say I know they're perpendicular Because if I turn him upside down and change the sign, I get 2 over 1 and make it a minus. Minus 2 over 1, which is minus 2. But I have to show them in the test. So I have to do this part. Okay? So m1 by m2 is minus 1. So a half by minus 2 is, and then I just throw it into my calculator and I get minus 1 is equal to minus 1. Okay? And then you write AB is perpendicular to CD. You state it. Because when I multiplied my two slopes, I got minus 1. I can say they're perpendicular. Okay, is that alright? One last thing I just want to show you, you don't need to take it down. It's just for getting slopes using your diagram. Okay, so for example, what if let's say my line was like that. Okay, now let's do rise over run for this. First of all, I need to make my triangle, don't I? Now, I'm not going to use this as a point because it's not a clear point. Sure, it's not. This one is, and this one is. I can use any two of those points and I get the same answer. Okay? So if you want to use the full thing, that's fine. If you just want to use these two, that's fine. Or you might use these two. Totally up to you. Okay? So let's say I'm using these two. What is my run? 2. What is my rise? 1. But be careful. Rise over run is rise over run. But what could you say about that line? It's negative. So stick a minus. Very important that you remember, is it a negative line? If you want, you can think the rise is going down because it's going from here to here, isn't it? So it's minus 1. If you want to say that, that's fine too. Minus 1 over 2. Okay? Or you can just say 1 over 2, but I know it's a negative slope, so it must be a negative. Is that alright? Okay, great.